You are listening to the Novel Writing Podcast, episode 228. I'm your host, Colleen Mitchell. Grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. Today we're going to talk about copywriting your book. Now, before you shout that your work is copyrighted the moment you write it, yes, you're correct. But that inherent copyright doesn't protect you from companies like Anthropic stealing your ebook and using it to train their AI models. Unfortunately, if your book was stolen during that fiasco, you weren't allowed to join the class action lawsuit for compensation if your book had not been registered for its copyright before the theft took place. I disagree with that decision, but alas, that is the world we live in. Automatic or inherent copyright happens the moment your work is put into tangible form, whether that's handwritten, typed and saved in a file, or recorded, like in the case of dictation or music. However, a registered copyright provides extra legal protections that inherent automatic copyright does not cover. For the purposes of this episode, I'm talking about registering your copyright with the United States Copyright Office in Washington, D.C. I can't speak to the copyright process in other countries. When you complete the U.S. registration correctly, they send you a certificate of your copyright being on file. Their website is government-level clunky, and the fee is $65 per title, but in my opinion, the legal benefits are worth the cost. Additionally, it's best to copyright your book within 3 months of publication. The longer you wait, the more risk you bear. So what do you get when you legally register your copyright? First, like I already mentioned, is the ability to sue for infringement in federal court. With the Anthropic case, authors had to have a pre-existing copyright registered before the thefts occurred. Authors who tried to copyright once they found out about the thefts were out of luck because that registration was not in place before Anthropic stuck their greedy AI hands into the hard work of thousands of authors. While you can still sue someone for infringement without a registered copyright, you'll have a much harder time enforcing your rights through litigation, and you may not be able to get statutory damages or attorney's fees as part of the judgment, or at least you will have to do the difficult work of proving how much money you lost or how much money the infringer made off your work instead. This in particular is why authors want to register within 3 months of publication, because that window is what determines the eligibility to recoup statutory damages and attorney's fees. One common piece of advice is to send yourself a certified mail copy of your finished and potentially redlined manuscript, and then not open it until and unless something happens requiring you to submit that manila envelope as evidence in a court case. However, doing that is not a replacement for registering your copyright. For more in-depth discussion on the legality of protecting your copyright, you can go back and listen to episode 196 with lawyer Samantha Bradshaw. Second, registering creates a public record of ownership. It's one thing to have a dusty OG file sitting in the recesses of your hard drive, which is always at risk of failing, and quite another to have a legal document on record with the federal government which proves the work is yours, states when the work was created, and when it was registered. All those details make infringement disputes much easier to handle, since that registered copyright establishes you as the owner up front. Third, if an infringement case does go to court, and not all of them do, a registered copyright made within 5 years of publication is de facto evidence to the court that the copyright is valid and the information on the certificate is correct, which shifts the burden to the opposing party if they're challenging ownership. Let's say you release your book next month. If you register your copyright within the first 3 months of publication, after which someone pirates the ebook file and starts selling it themselves, your ability to enforce your copyright is significantly stronger than if you waited a year or never registered the copyright at all. Now that information is out of the way, what do you need to register your copyright? Well, first of all, you need an account at copyright.gov. You need $65 for the filing fee, your book title and applicable files or hard copies, the year of creation or completion, the first date of publication, and the nation of first publication and your ISBN, and then your personal details as the claimant and contact information for mailing the certificate. Some things to note. You do not need to pre-register your copyright. In fact, the Copyright Office actually discourages pre-registration for the vast majority of works. So only register after you publish your book, not before you've written a single word. You can copyright a series title. However, I've only ever copyrighted my books, so I'm not sure how different the process is to copyright a series title. The copyright process is for the text of the book, not for the cover design or any artwork inside, meaning don't list your artist as a claimant. At the end of the form, it will ask you to either upload the digital file or to mail a physical copy. It's in the very small print at the top of the page, but if your book is in printed form at all, so that's paperback or hardcover, you need to send the physical copy, and they explicitly say don't upload and send a copy in. And on that note, I register my paperback ISBNs, and unless your book is only in digital form, you do have to send that deposit copy of your paperback or hardcover to the Copyright Office as the last step. I made the mistake of not reading the fine print for the first 3 copyrights I submitted, and I didn't know about this deposit copy requirement. So for books 1 through 3, I uploaded the interior file rather than sending in a deposit copy, but only book 3 got flagged for it, and 6 months after I submitted the form, the Copyright Office actually sent me an email saying I had to send in a deposit copy within 45 days, otherwise the application would close incomplete and be non-refundable. Yay. So I didn't actually find that fine print until I registered book 4. So now for each book going forward, I'm going to reserve 2 author copies to send to A, the Library of Congress to satisfy the Library of Congress control number requirement, and B, the Copyright Office to satisfy the deposit copy requirement. 2 different government systems. Don't you just love them? The entire process to register the copyright takes less than 10 minutes for me now, but it also helps that I made a screenshot guide to reference since the system is so clunky. So if you plan on registering your copyright for multiple books, I recommend taking screenshots the first time you go through the system so you have them to reference each time you do it. Regardless, it's definitely worth the peace of mind for the legal protection that registering gives me. And I really hope that was helpful. That is it for today's episode. For the script of this episode, check out the Substack link in the description. They are free to access, but if you'd like to support the podcast and watch unedited interview videos, please consider subscribing. Thanks for joining me, and remember, the first draft is supposed to be garbage. The Novel Writing Podcast is a production of Colleen Mitchell Writes. For more writing resources, including Curios, Tally Inc. author services, and the 60-day novel writing challenge, check out the links in the description.